that blows your hair. I wanna feel like we're both alive. I wanna keep you so satisfied. You can be my ride. I'll keep you satisfied. I'll keep you warm at night. I'll keep you satisfied. Set it on fire. I wanna look right into your eyes. I wanna keep you so satisfied. You can be my ride. I keep you satisfied. I keep you warm at night. I keep you satisfied. I wanna be the wind below your wing. I wanna keep you so mystified. I'm gonna keep you so satisfied. You can be my ride. I'll keep you satisfied. I'll keep you warm at night. I'll keep you satisfied.
Let's try this again. I bet you can hear me now. Let me know you're hearing me okay. So welcome everyone to our weekly live stream. So let's see here. Lots going on, huh? No audio. How about now? You should be hearing it, right? Okay, cool. There's a little bit of a delay. So welcome everyone. We've been live streaming Mania here. We hung out till about 2 a.m., 2:30 last night, Eastern time. Some crazy stuff. Yeah, actually that band is a good friend of mine. So I told him I'd even sell some of his music for him. So good. So I'm glad everybody's here. We got about 230 folks so far online, so that's good. I'll chat a few minutes while we're getting the room a little more filled up, but certainly a lot going on. So, okay, so I'm getting no sound and sound, right? We got sound, right? Yeah, it is a Bob marathon, absolutely. Always got to have some Runa. Got to have that good stuff. Anyway, so some crazy markets going on for sure. I don't know, what do you say about, you know, Apple? I got Apple on the screen here right now. That's up 448. We're looking at NASDAQ up 484 right now, up 544 points. So, you know, they're still, they still haven't called states. I mean, this, we kind of knew this was going to happen, right? But I think the market's telling you exactly what's going on with the, you know, with the election. I think this, I did a survey yesterday on Twitter asking everybody why was the market rallying, and most folks, 59% said that it was because Trump was going to win, and it looks like he did. No matter, it's going to be tough to steal it away, it looks like right now. So some of my good friends in Europe, their heads are popping off right now. They really wanted, they hate Trump, and a lot of folks do. A lot of folks don't. And so that's the divisive world that we live in. So markets here today, we're seeing, you can see I'm going to go full screen just so we can talk about a few things. I'll go through some questions here, and we'll just take a look and see exactly what we can start to unpack. We are trading, I've seen a lot of comments already on the channel. We are trading above the RXT number across the board. And when we go through stocks today, I think you're going to see a lot of stocks have blown through the RXT number. And unless we fade substantially here, we're likely to, you know, we're likely to see this thing signal an RXT sell, so a 2-day sell. And I was just trying to look at a few things before I came in live, and I think I missed the doing my normal video last night. I tried to do it on a streaming. It was okay. Just wasn't enough time to record, edit, and post. That takes about 2.5, 3 hours, depending on the night, and actually hang out for the election. So it just didn't work out. Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see. Thomas, yeah, I don't know. If that's the case, the market would be down 1,000 points, right? You know, higher corporate taxes, free borders, all that stuff. You guys can figure it out. It's not going to work. Yeah, so let's just stay out of the politics side and try to go. I don't know. Let's see here. Mano, you tell me. Type it out, man. You tell me what the market, what is the market rallying on? Stimulus is temporary, right? Economies are more permanent. So as I talked in the last night, you know, we have to get the economy fully back online, you know, and the COVID stories are still pouring out there. You know, viruses are viruses. They're going to run their course. And I don't think it matters that, you know, there's so much controversy around this stuff. And, you know, so it's hard to say. Yeah, it depends. Depends on who you're talking to, who's in the lead. So we shall see, right? After Supreme Court, you know, so we can talk about this maybe 3 weeks ago, but 3 weeks from now. But yeah, so let's take a look at the, let's go to the S&P to start. We are trading well above the S&P futures, above the STX number. Let me bring some of these things online here. STX is for today 34.39. The high's 34.80. We're trading 69 last trade, up 107 handles. So this is just set, folks. You know, I don't know if you have the nerves for it, but you know, is it going to go up, keep going up? Is this a rocket ship up? PPMs are actually interesting now, but they're still negative. PPM1 is, well, it's turned positive, but by 0.11, so it's not real bullish. But it looks to me that we'll probably fall back in the range before we go higher. A lot of folks, you know, this may be also the effect that a lot of folks are waiting till after the election to buy. If I've seen that once on a comment on the channel, I've seen it 100 times over the last week. I'm waiting till after election before I buy. So maybe that's what we're seeing here for sure. So yeah, so the PPMs, somebody's asking what the PPMs are. They are the price pressure momentum indicators. They actually measure the angle of attack for the moving averages. Moving averages are basically flat, slightly upsloping, which is typical. When you get above these flat averages, they'll come back into the averages. So I suspect we'll move back toward, at least toward the 33.74 level. The original analysis going back to Monday was that we would see a 2 to 3 day rally. I said the rally could continue into Wednesday, which it has, but it certainly went beyond anybody's wildest expectations here in as far as the numbers that we're seeing. You know, these are March numbers, this volatility. So this, another effect of this is going to be that volatility is going to increase substantially and stay pretty high. So we've got, what's the range? If you look at the overnight range, we have a 33.19 to 34.80. So 180 point range on the S&P. This is on the future since last night. And probably one of the best things I did when I left here last night, I just covered. I had some shorts, they were working. I covered, went home flat. I'm glad I did. Woke up to all this craziness. So it's pretty interesting as far as the momentum not really exceeding anything that would tell us we're entering into a trend. Let's go to a weekly. We've also got a RXT weekly, and I mentioned this in last night's live stream that the PPMs are still negative on the weekly. They're not responding. Now PPM2, which is the 21-week moving average, I talked about that 2 days ago. I thought that would become very substantial support. That's at 33.01. The low, we went below that this week. We traded down to 32.43. So right now we are looking at a 240 point range, and it's Wednesday, folks. Okay, so this is pretty wild to say the least. But we close up here above the RTX. If we manage to close on Friday above here, we're going to see some backfilling in this market, probably back toward mid 33.70 I just mentioned, maybe a bit lower. We'll have to see how this thing plays out. The market grid will actually turn higher next week, and we're going to see an expanded volatility. The last 2 weeks on this chart, we've seen a expansion of volatility. So volatility is going to stay high on a weekly level, and we've just come into November. I'm going to go to a monthly graph here, and we're getting an inside bar. So what we're getting right now, which is really, these are really tough markets to call, is you're getting these volatility spikes. And yeah, they're trying to sell the futures again here for a second. But this, I'm going to try to blow this up just so you can get a better feel for what I'm looking at here. So you'll notice the bar in the middle there where we made a new high. We had the outside bar, but we closed neutral. Then we got an inside bar, and now we have an inside bar. So the last two bars have traded within the range of each other. So we've seen, and this is on a monthly basis. And so we're also seeing the monthly PPM starting to pick up a little bit. You're looking at PPM 1 at a plus 0.86. That's at 31.26. I originally had believed that we would trade down to that level. It's still in play, I believe, to reverse this action. The next couple of days will be pretty substantial. No, it's an inside bar. You can see it right here. Let me get rid of this so I can bring up the actual. The high-low for September was 34.83 to 31.98. Then the next bar we actually printed. Let me get this. 31.98 was the low in September. Then we printed 25, 32.25, 35.41. So we came just short of the 83 high. Now this month we've seen a 32.43. I know this is what, 4 days into this month, and 34.80 high. So we're still within that range. We'd have to get above 35.41 to on the upside, and on the downside we'd have to go below 32.25. So we've got a lot of work to do, and most of the story that's going to be told here is going to be on the weekly graph here. And if we do get this RXT close on Friday, then we will see at least 2 weeks sideways to down and potentially trading back into the grid, which is going to move up. We're probably going to see it move up. Maybe, like I said, 33.70, 33.30 could be a number. That's 130 points from here. So the trick is going to be, as I go over to the daily chart, is trying to figure out how to play this thing. And right now, you know, for today, we just have, if we hold above 34.39, we're going to get a RXT sell. What that means is that we're closing above this market grid. You can see we had one on 9.4 right before the big collapse. This one is, we had another one over here on 10.12. We saw a decline, and now we're getting another one here on 11.4. It looks like we're going to get one here. There's a pretty solid chance, I suspect, we're going to stay above 34.40, but we'll see. We've still got a couple hours to go, so we'll see how this all plays out. And one of the things that I've been talking about, I'm going to flip back to the, I'm going to go to the cash SPX, and we're going to flip back to the monthly on the cash. And one of the things that I've been discussing over some time is that the longer term moving averages are all still advancing. PPM 1, which is tracking the 10-month moving average, is up a 0.77. Anything over 0.25 is a uptrend. So we're firmly in an uptrend there. PPM 2, a plus 1.07. So that's basically 4 times the trend. And PPM 3 is 0.87. So these upward slope moving averages here are actually telling us that the secular trends are still up. So I'm just going to draw in these green lines. So these are the 3 moving averages. They're all advancing. This is your underlying trend right here. And the angle of attack over here on the left, as I just said, 0.77, 0.107, 0.87. These are all still very bullish numbers. And the expectation I had, I know there seems to be some folks, based on my the Ghost Face Friday video that came out on Thursday night, was that I was calling for a 20% decline. I was not. I was calling for a move back to the 40-week moving average, possibly to the 10-week moving average was 3110, 3100 with the possibility of going to 33,000. And I still believe that that is in play. It may not be until we get into next month before we'll see that. And as I've been talking about for a while, I'll try to expand this out. And this has been the scenario that I've been covering for quite a while here. Let me just blow this up. Is that we would the markets would remain in this broad sideways trading range, and what we're doing is back moving up toward the top end of the range here. And so 35, the high was 35.88, then we had a 35.49. Now we're getting a 34.86 high. This is the cash SPX. And so we're still seeing this contracting sideways pattern. Now, when you start to look at the daily charts and everything we see going there, then it feels like something's bigger is going on, but it really is within the context of what I've been talking about. And one of the things I'll bring up here in a few minutes, I'll bring up the portfolio expert, and one of the things that we got triggered on last weekend is we dropped below 42% bullish on, there was quite a few sells came in on the system. We're still bullish, but it dropped below one of the key numbers, which tells us that doesn't really signal a downtrend because you have to get under 0.28 for that, but it does signal that we're likely to stay in this sideways range. So as exciting as this feels, I think you're probably seeing the top end of the excitement. All right, let's take it's the same analysis, but let's take a look at NASDAQ here just for a minute. We'll look at some spreads. We spent a lot of time last night talking about the spreads, and that's something we can okay. Yeah, so the NASDAQ has, this is a monthly NASDAQ, this is the futures, has the same basic pattern. We're just in this. You can see the market grid has mapped out a 12,700 to 10,041. So far this month, we have printed just about an S1. We came a little short of that. And now we're at just above an R2. So on a monthly basis, this is within the normal configuration, the normal volatility that we're likely to continue to see. I just don't see this actually as a breakout. And the other thing that we're seeing is monster divergence here from the standpoint of the PPMs here. You see they're upticking and they're still very positive on the NASDAQ. But I still think this 10-period moving average or 10-month moving average is in play. It's at 10,199. So we could see as we come into, it may be December by the time we see this. We got a lot of month ahead. Yeah, so you know, so I'm not sure. You know, I see. It's somewhat funny if the market thought Biden won, nothing's going to happen until Biden's president, right? So Biden won't be president for a while. He won't be able to enact anything until February, if you're lucky, right? So I don't think that's what we're going on. And if I think you're going to see this thing fade here, so I'll take the other side of that trade, no problem. It's just a matter of trying to figure out where to play this at. And I always say on days like this, you buy it up 506 and I'll sell it and let's see who wins in 2 days. But I think we're going to get the RXT sell on a weekly basis potentially, and on a daily basis, it's for sure. And we'll just see if we can get this thing. I mean, we'd have to have a pretty substantial collapse by almost 2% to get this thing to close back below the RXT number today. Yeah, probably one of the more interesting moves that we've seen is is that the interest rates on the 10-year has dropped back to 7.73. It literally closed yesterday at 8.82 and it just plummeted. We're down 12.36% on the 10-year, which is unbelievable. A huge gap. PPM's all turned south. Everything's south. We're back below the 40-day moving average. I'm sorry, the 200-day moving average. That's this orange line up here. And we're just all of a sudden, we're right back into the range, just like that. One of the things I want to look at here is you'll see, even though the interest rates are falling back, what we're seeing from a yield curve standpoint, we're still seeing some minor steepening on the 1030, still steepening. This is the 510 over here, and the 510 spread is actually is flattening just a little bit, but the spread that you want to watch is that 1030, and it's continuing to maintain that steepening pattern. So that, in spite of this big gap down in the 10-year, that's so. Let's go to a weekly 10-year notes, because I think this is also going to be interesting. We traded down to the bottom end of the grid on the weekly. The lower end is 754. The low is 756. The dominating factor in here is this 40-week moving average, which is 775. So we printed right back to there. That's the bottom of the grid. That's that downward sloping moving average. But we are seeing a potential turnaround on these moving averages. So I suspect that we will see some higher yield. So we're going to go from the Dower, and then we're going to take a look at go from the 10-year to the Dower. Now we did see some backfilling overnight on the Dower. We went right up to the 21 period moving average. I've been talking about this on the coverage on the channel on my nightly videos. So what we're seeing here on the Dower back to the and I discussed this, I believe, on Monday night's video, that we're looking at a 93.44 is the 10-week moving average on the Dower. 94.25 is the 21-week moving average, and we're going to be sandwiched in between those numbers. So far, we've had 94.30, 93.09. So we've actually been able to print just below that 10-week moving average earlier in the week. But we're definitely seeing these upward slope PPMs, which tell us that this thing is going to continue. As I've been talking, I believe we'll see the 96 handle on the Dower, and that will continue to be a trend that's unfolding for the next several months. Now, it might take 6-8 weeks plus to get up to those levels. Yeah, Mike, City. I did call it that way, so I'm not going to argue with you. It was on Monday night's video. I talked about reaching S3 on the weekly, and so I'm not going to have another argument online with you. And the reason why he got blocked, he was being a shit, and that I don't put up with that stuff. So I don't mind. So, you know, anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see where we're trading on the futures right now, 58. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a sell-off and try to get back to that 44 level. Yeah, I know. I think it's the same guy, Chomatic. It's on a different handle. Anyway. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, we're going to go into a bunch of stocks here in a few minutes. Let's take a look at the metals. Let's do gold. We've covered the dollar, interest rates. Let's do gold, and then we'll just open up and we'll start doing some individual stocks and see what's going on. Let's go to the daily gold. So we're seeing this continue to stay within the moving average ranges that I've been talking about. We're just sandwiched here. Gold just can't get out of its own way. We had a low of 1851, I think 3 weeks ago, 1859 last week. This week, this is the daily, but this week I think the low was 59. It was 59 this week, 51 last week or the week before. And now we're just moved back to the moving averages. I really think we're going to continue to hover around 1900, maybe 1905, 1912. We're seeing the range today. We're still only 1885. If we look yesterday, we actually closed at 1910 and we were able to print 12. That was the higher end of this range. So we're just going to continue to be mapped in here. We got 1917, 80 high, low 81. PPMs, there is no trend here. So let's go to the weekly. So this is something I discussed on Monday's video, maybe Tuesday, is that the 10 and 21 period moving averages are going to cross next week to the downside. And what that typically people look at when the short-term moving average crosses over to the downside of the longer term, that's bearish. The issue here is that the 21 period moving average is actually up at 0.35. So that is actually drawing the markets up toward that number, which is 1903. The 10-week moving averages is right now 1913, and we see we're banging up on that 12 number. We printed 12, we printed 17, then it comes right back in again. So this will start to dissipate. The PPMs are trying to turn around. It won't take much, probably a close, one or two closes above the 19 handle, and you'll start to see momentum start to turn around, and we'll start to be in a position to possibly rally here. Okay. I'm going to bring up Bitcoin and then we'll move on. Don't do anything yet because what I want to do is just get set up. So I'll start capturing some stocks and then we'll just start going through some individual stocks and start talking about some other things that you guys want to talk about. I agree with you, Geomatic. That's exactly right. That's the point. So here's Bitcoin is continuing to move up. We actually got an RXT sell, and I don't know if we may end up going sideways here, but we're still printing up. And we got one over here and it went sideways. We got one here. It kind of went up and then went sideways. We'll see how this thing unfolds this week. This is a weekly graph of Bitcoin. We're looking at the high end 14,854 and R2 is 14,283. The high so far 14,267 on the downside, 13,221, 13,141 S2. So we're basically printing R2 S2 on this thing on a weekly basis. On a short-term basis, when we go to the daily graph, let's see, did we? Yeah, we did get a RXT sell signal. We got one here. We went down to sideways for 2 days. That's usually what we'll get. We got one here. We're still printing higher. I suspect the reason that we're this low here, 13,545. The low is 15,538. That PPM is up at a 0.87. There's only about a 10% probability for it to close under that number. So hindsight there, if we would have had this number overnight, it actually is in our market grid that you can get. That RX number was right there at S. Just trying to get the number here. Yeah, the 10-pair moving average 13,545. So that's just a bit above the S3 number there, just a touch. So this pattern continues to be bullish. We have very robust PPMs. I talked about this going back to the monthly graph here. Is I really think we're going to see Bitcoin somewhere between 19 and 23,000, and that's probably a 4 to 6 month projection. All right, folks, it's that time. Let's go ahead and we'll start getting some symbols to go through. So let's go, give me some stock symbols. I'm putting down Apple, Tesla. All right. All right. I got quite a few here to go through. Thanks, Geomatic. Runa Fund. Yes. Thank you. That's funny. Vodka and Runa. I don't know I don't know what that would be like. Yeah, I guess and I keep saying this, Bob was calling for a market crash. What I was calling about was a move to 3120, possibly 3000, down to the 200-day moving average. I don't think that's a crash. But I did mention some numbers in that video that we could go to 2700. Obviously, has that been negated yet? I don't think it has. I think what we're seeing here is just more of this sideways noise that I talked about a little bit ago. So let's, no, Runa is not like Red Bull. Runa is just a T. Matter of fact, let me go on screen here. Let's see, I'm going to see if this will work. Yeah, if you guys want, here's a special code to try Runa. If you, let me see if I can get this, I can't get it in focus here. There it is. You can get $5 off, and all you do is, I think you can go to Amazon and buy this stuff, and there's the code. So, but all it is tea. There's no other additives. There's no sugar, no nothing. And so, thanks, Gabriel. Appreciate it. So is that LIT? Is that ETF? Yeah, I'll get on that. Yeah, so yeah, we'll go back to the cryptos here in a few minutes. So yeah, I just gave you guys a $5 super chat. Good call. So okay, let's go back to the screen here, and so let's dig into some of these stocks. I'll go back and do some of the other cryptos. I didn't really cover them, but I will. And it's interesting because I had a lot of them. I don't know if that screen didn't get saved. That would be depressing. Oh no, there it is. There's Litecoin. Okay. All right. So let's start with Apple, and I'm going to go to a daily chart and put Apple in. So as I mentioned, and we're going to see this, I think, on a lot of stocks today, we're going to see a lot of RXT sell signals, and that's very likely here. So the grid on here's the grid for Apple, and the range so far, the RXT number 113.91. We've had a high of 115.59. So we close up here. What's going to happen with this grid is it's flat right now. It's going to turn up. So tomorrow, when this thing updates tonight after the close, it will turn up. So the bottom end of the range will be probably closer to R1 today, will be the bottom end of the range. So 109.60, maybe around 110, 109.60 would be a move back into that range. Might take a couple days to get there. But we are seeing PPM1 is still negative. And this is one of the things that I've been talking about as we looked at a lot of these charts, is in spite of this huge rally, this snap rally, it appears to be some sort of aberration that will have to fade, consolidate, and then move higher. I don't think we just break out and make a big run here. We're going to look at the weekly charts here in a minute, but I think you're going to see some sideways to backfilling here in the next couple of days. Yeah, so here we are in a weekly 10-week moving average 1397, the RXT 1471, the high 1559. We actually had an RXT weekly at 116.51, so we printed up to the higher end of this range. Now PPM1, which is the 10-week moving average, is negative by 0.88. And what that tells us is that there's only about a 20% probability for Apple to close above that 113 number on Friday. So it's Wednesday. So next 2 days we should see it back up and at least be back under that number. And it's declining almost 1% per week, which is a pretty decent decline. And I know I taught this is a classic pattern. I remember talking about this thing last week. As we there's a whole lot of charts like this when we go through these charts that you're going to see. As we're sandwiched between the 21 simple moving average and the 10 week on a weekly basis, and the 10 week on the upside. And what all that is going to be the range. RXT is just slightly above that, and then we're going, but that is narrowing. So the 21's here and the 10's coming down. It's getting narrower. Same thing has been happening on gold. There's a whole lot of charts out there like that. So we're not getting RXT sell weekly, at least not at the moment. I guess we could get that in the next couple of days if we continued. But if we close back, just flipping back to the daily for a second here, you're going to see this. We should come back in, like I said, at least what is R1 today, which would be 109.60. We could go 108, but we'll see how the grid sets up today when it updates. But that grid will turn up with this movement here. It's going to map out just a bit higher, and the volatility range doesn't look to me, the fact that we gapped up doesn't change the volatility that much. So we're likely to see similar volatility or otherwise range predictions that we're seeing on Apple for tomorrow. So right now it's what, roughly about $3.50. So the upside will probably be wherever we close today, about 3.5 higher, and the downside would be roughly 3.5 on the downside. So we'll have about a $7 band on Apple that it can trade in. Typically what it will do is trade in this R2, S2 kind of range. And if we can get a bias, if we do get the RTXL, then you should see it, like I said, move back 109.60. There's some support around 110. So that should be what you see here if we just continue to grind out here for the next hour and 45 minutes. All right, let's do Tesla. A lot of folks asking, why is Tesla down? This is the daily Tesla chart. We got this. Here was that RTX sell way over here. This, and we just been terrible trading market lately. We got an RXT sell on 10.8, and we had 1, 2 down. Then we just kept drifting. We did not get a sell here, but we're just continuing to drift in this range. Let me blow this up just a little bit, or zoom out just a touch. But you'll see this volatility spike that's happening in the middle of the page here. And when those things happen, those are just very climactic situations. That was it, right? Hang on. All right, this is a little better. Something was going on with that symbol. I put it in right, but here we go. Let's try this again. So, yeah, we do have this. We did get an RXT sell 2 days ago. Yeah, I know. Thanks. I just caught it. I fat fingered that symbol in. Yeah, so on the 16th, RTX 463.85. We closed at, yeah, actually, hang on 1 second here. Yeah, so 418.77. We closed at 423, so we got a sell on 11.3. Now this is the first day of the sideways. We should have one more day, and we should end up trading back toward the S2 to STX, which would be 413, possibly going down to 402. What's the low today is 417. So yeah, so we should see this thing drift for another day, possibly more. PPMs are flat. There's no trend at all. So that it's trendless. It's in this flat range. Let's go to the weekly and just try to get a feel for it. So we did print above RTX for this week, 428.15, 435. So we'd have to close over 428 on a weekly basis. But this is possibly the same pattern where we're going to trade back toward this 21-week moving average. I still think a lot of these symbols are going to trade back to these numbers that we're looking at here. We're just not going to see this thing just these stocks break out and go to all-time new highs. There's still some backfilling to do. The 21 period moving average on a weekly is 354. It's up about $11 per week, so that's going to be 354, 365 next week. So that number is going to keep going up. So 2 weeks from now, all of a sudden we'll be maybe a 385 range, something like that we could print. But this is definitely going to get sandwiched between the 10-week and the 21-week moving average. This thing should come back in. I just don't see it. This is a mini dragon head, and this is really what it's telling us is sideways. Stay in the grid. If we close above the grid, that'll just confirm that we're going to come back into that on a weekly basis. So the broad range is on the downside, the 21-week moving average 354.86. On the upside, the extreme is 328. We did trade 428, and the high is so far has been 435. So we have traded above RXT. So just expect Tesla to continue to drift on a daily basis. No trend, zero. It's just in this waffling sideways short-term range. On a weekly, we're seeing a lot of the PPMs roll over here. We're in a negative PPM 1, which is negative 0.55, and that's at 415. So I would suspect that by Friday, we're going to trade back to the ranges I talked about off of the grid, back to 410, 409, and then we'll probably see it continue to move back in to maybe 378, 386, around those ranges. Okay. Let's do Facebook. Facebook is above it, the weekly RXT here. Just like these other stocks, there's no no VIG. Otherwise, the PPMs, the underlying, it's that 21 period moving average, which is going to be that trigger point. And you can see so far this week, the low 358, 258.75 was the 21-week moving average. PPM 2, which tracks the 21-week, was at a plus 1.12, telling you there's less than a 10% probability. That was exactly where the market bounced from, the low 57.34. So we traded through it, not quite a dollar, and a bit over a dollar, and then reversed. And here we are printing RXT. 285.78 was RXT, last 288.94. But PPMs are interesting, but I still think if we get this RXT sell on Friday, we're going to see this thing move back toward this 21 week. I know last week when we were doing a live stream, I talked a lot about the potential for the markets to bounce off of their 21 period moving average. And that's exactly what we're seeing a lot happen here. We'll take a quick glimpse at the daily. Same thing here. So like I said, we're going to see a lot of these. We're above the RXT number. RXT 278.60. The high so far 288.94. So look, we're definitely going to get RXT sell on Facebook today. Looks pretty likely, but like I said, all of these grids are going to turn up, so the potential is probably equal to R1 today, potentially going back to 264, 260, 262 on Facebook if we get this sell today. PPMs are all turning up here on the daily, so this is pretty positive. This is a much different chart, but it's also been under it's completely different configuration. This is a tough pattern to read and to do much with. I just want to bring something up here real quick. Yeah, there's really nothing here to look at from that standpoint, other than we're trading up at this upper end of the range, probably going to fall back into the grid over the next couple of days. Like I said, it won't be, doesn't mean it's not a big sell signal. It should be down to sideways for a couple of days. It looks like just about everything we would look at for a while. All right, let's go through. Let's do Disney next. There's quite a few stocks here. On a daily basis, Disney's basically trendless. Nothing really going on there. Trying to move up to the 40-day moving average. We're up 1.62 on the session today. We're coming into that 10-week moving average, 126.64, a high 126.86. That's probably the top end of this range. We'll probably head back towards 123.71. Don't really see this thing exploding here. PPM 1 is down 0.74, and that is declining at about $1 a week. So that resistance will be 125 when we come into next week. And we should sandwich down in between probably the 40 and 21. This downward sloping 40 is one of these really weird configurations that never seem to work out right. This is not the, most likely not the breakout formation that you think it's going to be. I think, let me see if I can point out something here that will help you to understand what I just said. So if we look, I'm just trying to blow this up. It's not going to work like I hoped. But this pattern over on the right over here, let me just draw this in. And you're going to see this pattern around a lot, but you'll see you get a peak here, and then the moving averages will start moving and we'll move back into this range. I think we're getting the same thing. We're going to have a peak, we're moving back into this, and then it will just continue in a pivot zone in between this grid numbers here, between 113 and 128. That's going to be your range. And this downward sloping, I've got the same color, this green line here is the 40-week moving average. That's going to draw the market down. We did go below it last week right here. Getting a lot of mess here. Let me clean this up. We did go below it here. We stayed above it this week, but this is going to be the range, this 10-week moving average and the 21, and the market's going to want to move. Disney's going to want to move back toward this level. I don't think Mando can save it. Okay. Let's go to DraftKings. This was a hot stock when all the games started to come back on. Since then, we're actually faded off the extreme right now. And that is putting us, we did trade above the RXT 39.76, high 40.79. Last is 38.95. So we're trading back at R2 right now. I suspect with this down, this thing is still down quite a bit. We are seeing a crossover of PPM1, which is encouraging, telling us that we're probably going to set up a bottoming phase here on this stock. So we could begin this low that we're seeing here around 35 is probably it. And we'll see some sort of 4 or 5 day consolidation, and then we can maybe start to move up toward 43, 40, 46, $48 on this stock. The weekly, there's not a lot of data, but let's take a look at it. Weekly is this big downtrend. We got the RXT sell signal over here, and we did have 1 week down. We spiked up to the extreme, and now we're just in this downtrend. So we're back to probably into the moving averages here. The extreme on the downside is going to be 31 bucks. Like I said, my expectation would be that we would set up at least another weekly bar or so. That is going to be exactly the range that you're going to set up here. We probably have printed the low on this one. It's going to take 5 or 6 days. Yeah, folks are asking again, I covered this earlier in the beginning of the video, what happened to my fear prediction. It's still out there. I know it doesn't feel like it. You know, this is an emotional reaction to the election. Not even sure what it's for. I don't know if they're celebrating that they think Trump's going to win or Biden's going to win. I don't know what they're trading off of. I made a comment earlier just back on the markets for a second on the S&P, is that a lot of folks have been commenting they're waiting till after the election to buy. So I think you're seeing that. Yeah, so yeah, I see Michael Harrison. He's right mostly. And generally lose, but I bet against him. Yeah, true story. True story. I'll come back on. Just on that, I was an analyst at a major regional firm. Brand new analyst came in, and they made me the head financial analyst. One of the guys, literally on the board of directors of this company, would take all of the research analysts and he would fade them. If they said to go long, he would fade them, and I just was killing the guy because I was right more than I was wrong, and the reason why that happens is because I'm driven by these models, and what we're seeing here, like I don't know that anyone could have predicted, a 4.5% gain today. It is. They're trying to fade it a little bit. I don't think they're going to do much with it. We got an hour and a half to go. A lot can happen yet, but yeah. So everything I'm doing here on the channel is driven by data, by a lot of not experience, but the actual models themselves are guiding me on what's going on. And we did see, and I mentioned this in last night's stream. I actually, in hindsight, I hated that I didn't have a edited video out last night. We just did a live stream. It definitely is not as good, but I did that because it takes about 2.5, 3 hours to record, edit, and post a typical night video. So I didn't have time to do that and be live for the election coverage that we did last night. So it worked out fine. Tonight I'll have a very detailed description of what's going on. This is just another ad hoc, live stream where we're looking at charts together and I'm making comments. So tonight we'll be back in the laboratory after the close today, and I will be able to go through and really tie in to what these markets are doing here and have some clarity. Yeah, I'm not sure Biden's winning. We'll see. You guys, I don't know. I haven't looked at anything. Maybe you guys know something I don't. Maybe they found a way to do it. But anyway, yeah, like I said, I don't think to rally on stimulus is going to be very short-lived. So it actually plays into the analysis that I've been telling you folks. Stimulus doesn't fix anything. Stimulus is a Band-Aid. Stimulus is nothing more than giving people money and hoping that it's going to work out. So I don't think if that's what we're responding to here, then this thing's just about over. And that's what I'm saying, is that from a market viewpoint, is this is not a big leg up and the market's going to, no, it's just going to continue to chop in a very broad range. Been my analysis for 3 months now, and all we're seeing is the gyrations. Everything's still trading in threes, by the way. There's no impulse waves. There's nothing. It's just chop, 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 chop. And this is certainly a volatility spike on top of that. So that's what we're going to see there. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other stocks. This one should be interesting. Yeah, this is actually, I can't remember what stock we're looking at. Maybe it might have been Tesla. I don't remember which one now. But this downward sloping, this is a weekly MGM chart. This downward slope here of this of the 40-week moving average, market just moved right back toward that. Now we're locked between the 40, 21, and we're right in this moving average configuration. PPMs are negative on the top end. Underneath, we're seeing a positive PPMs. This has been exactly what's going on across the board. and they're getting a little bit of selling in the futures a little bit. We're printing 56, 57 right now, so they're possibly going to just looking at the S&P futures. If I recall, 49 is the trigger on the downside. We'll see if they can get them down below that level. We could see some pretty good liquidation as we come into the end of the day. So it'll be interesting to watch. But this downward sloping moving average. So if you're just following my work and you don't have PPMs, you don't have any of that, and you take put on simple moving average, 10, 21, 40, and the 40 period moving average, you can see it just was drawing the market down. This is a classic. And the same thing here, we had the 40 going down. This was the trend. So even though we were trading above it, the market came back to the back side of this. Then we started to see some positive mode. And also, this is something where the crossover happened, where the 21-week moving, where the 40-week moving average crossed the 21. All this stuff with the golden crosses and all that stuff. I've been meaning to do this and put a simple trading model together. If you looked at all that stuff and you ran a trading model, buy when those things happen, you'd lose all kinds of money. Those things don't work, okay? The golden cross and all that stuff. They make really good YouTube videos, but they don't actually work. And but yeah, so the crossovers are typically negative. You can fade the crosses most of the time, and I've been watching this, especially when in the case here where the short-term average is crossing above. This happened on this bar here. I think it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but right after it crosses, you usually get a 2, 3. This is a weekly chart, maybe 2 to 3 weeks downward after a cross, and then it will come to the backside of the moving average, which it did last week. It printed at 1947 was the 40-week moving average. The low last week was 1955, so it's classic. But as far as this stock goes, this thing is still stuck. You can't get this thing to move. And let's face it, if this stimulus thing was real, why wouldn't they be buying this stock? Let's take a look at some of the airlines here. Let's look at this. Those have got to be stimulus stocks, right? So if we went to yeah, where's the stimulus, folks? Where's it at? That's what we're buying? I don't think so. You know, you could go through here and all of these airlines. Somebody asked for BA. You know, these are junk stocks. And if there was a big stimulus coming, aren't the airlines and all the hospitality and entertainment stuff, aren't those the guys getting their asses kicked? Yeah, of course it is, right? There's no stimulus coming. If this is a stimulus trade we're seeing on the screen right now, where is it? Why aren't these stocks moving? Yeah, so we're trading 50.75 on the S&P. Let's flip over to, let's take a look at the level 2 for a few minutes. We're starting to see some pretty heavy selling coming in here. Let me get out of the way. And this is, we're starting to see some liquidation here now. We printed up to 80. Now we're 49. We're almost 40 handles off the highs right now. We'll see if they stabilize here. But there's not a lot of confidence in whatever's going on here. And like I said, when we're looking at these airlines, why would there be, if this is a stimulus trade, why aren't the stimulus stocks moving? I would have to believe that's definitely the airlines, all the, you know, hospitality. If that's what's coming, that would be the case, right? Let's just stay with this chart for a couple minutes. We did print down to that pivot number. The low so far on this print here was 48.50, so we printed through it and we're getting a little bounce right there. We'll see if this thing can hold here, but it's definitely still under pressure. Yeah, so 48.50 prints, we're back 52. Looks like we could stabilize here, but this thing is, I think, going to continue to drift for the next hour and 15 minutes. Yeah, so I see Matt is saying that Fauci is saying the first vaccine in 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, if you can believe anything that guy says, right? Masks work, they don't work, they work again, all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go back and let's talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, so this is UAL. We're going to stick with this Airlines for just a few minutes. You're looking at quite a bit of downward pressure. So maybe it's not a stimulus situation anyway, right? Maybe it's a lockdown. So maybe that's what we're going to see, man. I think this is probably one of the craziest things ever that anybody's ever seen. I'm sure it is, actually. All right, I'm just looking through the line. So, yeah, so let's go back to some of these other stocks, get back in here. Go back to Shopify. These patterns, and I usually cover this every week, and is what we're seeing here is just this crazy. This is basically the pattern we're likely to continue to see in the S&P and all these markets is nowhere. The momentum's mixed. You got uptrend below where some of the 21 period moving average has got a positive uptrend on it. The 10 is down, the 40's up, so we have underlying uptrends with short-term downtrends that are still pretty much in place on a lot of these stocks. It just we're seeing a big reaction today on the stock up 5.8. If you owned it, you probably should be selling it, because when we go to the daily, guess what? No, we're right at the RXT. Let me bring that up so you can see it. RXT 1001, we did print 1002.67, last trade 994, so it doesn't look like we'll get an RXT sell there, but we've got PPM1 minus 0.27, PPM2 minus 0.21. This is just a reaction back into this resistance zones on a lot of these stocks as well. Thank you, Matt, I appreciate it. Yeah, I need to do somebody super chat a little bit ago. I apologize. I got want to look at lithium, and then I will do telephone as well. So let's take a quick look at that LIT. I wish I could find, I found a YouTube video that's going through all the different technologies out there on batteries right now. What's going on with battery storage, electric storage is insane right now. There's a lot of new technologies emerging. But we did get RXT cell here, but this thing just keeps climbing. I guess that has a lot to do with what I'm talking about here on LIT. Let's go to a weekly. Yeah, look at this weekly's blowing through the top here. So probably gonna get an RXT cell. We got one over here on 710. We got our two days down to sideways. This is weeks, 2 weeks down to sideways. Probably get the same thing, but this grid will turn back up here. But this won't be updated till next week. So but yeah, this thing is obviously all-time new highs. When you get to that range, it's anybody's guess where this thing stops. But we stay above this RXT number on Friday, which is 44.64. High of 46.09, right now 45.97. So we close above 44.64. You should see 1 to 2 weeks on the downside. So telephone is, what a terrible company. I hate them. That's who my service provider is on my phone. I think they're already trying to spin off. I think they're already trying to spin off DirecTV since they bought it. But this decline here, we've got PPM1 at a minus 0.99, 0.54, minus 0.84. This is a big downtrend. We could set up a low off of this old low here at 26. This thing looks about as bad as General Electric, but I don't see any turnaround on this stock anytime soon. It may set up a low here, but that doesn't mean it will go up much. Let's take a look at the daily. Daily lockdown as well. Minus 0.26 ppm2, ppm3, 0.19. We still have these two top moving averages still declining down. Maybe we set up a low here. Maybe there's a move to 30.93, go back toward the 200-day. But this is a bad company. Find a better company to trade, I think. I would be very, very careful with that. Yeah, I agree with DirecTV is the old and streaming is the new. And I believe once Elon Musk gets the new internet service for the world, that's gonna open up a lot of folks for people. I've actually applied. I have a location that I need internet that is remote, so I'm already applied for getting that internet service. We'll see if it works. I'll let you guys know. So here we are on Pacific Biosciences. We came down to the 40 period moving average on daily. Looks like we could set up a low here, but we still have some very negative PPMs. So I would expect to see 1143 to about 1250. Let's look at the weekly real quick, see if we can see anything there. Yeah, so we printed down, there's the 10 moving average at 1097, low 1122. Bounce off of that zone. We also had 1122 S3 weekly was 1144, 1093 STX, which maps out to the 10 period moving average pretty close. So yeah, this thing is locked in a range. It's going to be sideways and be, if you're scalping, maybe some swing trading off of this, it might be okay, but that'll be it. So here's NEO, which is just a rocket ship that keeps moving higher in this parabolic curve. We did get an RXT sell here. We managed to get a better part of 1 to 2 weeks of downside, then it reversed up. Looks like we're trying to get another one. It's not Friday, so if Friday we close above 36.27, that should be the next sell signal. PPMs are still very robust. Everything looks pretty good there. I'm just going to flash back. It's coming into the final hour of trading here. So that low at 48.50 so far has been the low. We'll see if we can retest that. What I'm looking for here is what the setup's going to be coming into the last hour, and see what kind of action we get as we come into the final range. Yeah, so this is US Steel. I actually used to be an employee. And one of my mentors, this was one of his favorite trading stock. This thing is pretty ugly. Down 9%. That's pretty tough. And let's go to a daily real quick. Yeah, so we're moving down to the 21 period moving average, and that is, yeah, we should get a bounce from here. It's trying to roll over though. Could trade as low as 839 before it finds a low. It used to be one of the great companies, and not anymore with all the Chinese steel out there. Next, we'll go to CMG, Chipotle. Here's another one of those charts on a daily basis. We're going to get an RXT sell. We also are trading into the moving averages, PPM1 a minus 0.55. So I would look for this thing to retrace back also to probably R1, or I'm sorry, S1 on the scale today at 1200 over the next 2 sessions. So we should see some pretty decent selling in the stock. I think if we did a retracement here of this decline, we might see it maybe as a 50% rally, something like that. One second, folks, just looking at a couple things here on the other monitor. Oz Micro, somebody asked for this. Well, this is another rocket ship. Way through the daily RTX number. Yeah, this thing's off the map. Let's see what it looks like on a weekly. Yeah, crazy. O2 Micro. I don't know what these guys do, but they're doing something right. Yeah, I was just trying to see if there's any fib ratios on this. It even exceeded that. The upward targets on this thing was high end 734. We're at 826. It blew through even through those objectives. Yeah, PPMs are off the map. So typically what will happen with a stock like this is you'll get this extreme, we'll get an RXT sell signal, and then you'll set up a large consolidation range. We saw this happen in Tesla, a bunch of these things for sure that have spiked up like this, and then they come back in a range, and then you can't go anywhere. Yeah, as far as not sure I finished Neo right. Yeah, Neo's the same kind of configuration, is that you're going to be looking at this, some sort of moving back into the range, moving back towards at least an S1, which is 29.23, maybe 31.93 to 29.23. Come back in here. If we hold and get a close above this RXT number on Friday, this is weekly, that number's close over 36.27. We'll set up that pattern for us to go in there. Yeah, so yeah, let's go back over this. This is what I was talking about. We're starting to see some selling come into the futures now. We're trading 44. So this is new lows on this run. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen overnight, but one thing you can count on here is that we're going to have some extreme vol here. Volatility is going to be absolutely off the map. So yeah, we're seeing some nice selling here. All right, so we printed 48.5. Now we've made a new, this was the low over here. We had a little rally. Now this time we printed down to 43.50. Starting to see the market firm up a little bit. What time we got? Yeah, we got a ways to go yet. Here's another, this is Bank of America. This bank's only half as bad as Wells Fargo. But you can see that downsloping 40-period moving average that I was talking about earlier. And that is down 0.89. That's going to be substantial resistance right now at the, let me bring the grid over on the screen. 2501. I mean, this is not a stock that you want to own. I don't think this is one you want to own. JPM's the same way. I'm not sure any of these bank stocks are not in a good position, especially with the 10-year collapsing like it did today. Yeah, Bank of America. Wells is the worst of the worst. It's right up there with a GE. It's another crud stock. Used to be something special. GameStop moved up to its right above its 200-week moving average and is back down. Week moving average 1042 is going to be substantial support, low 1050 this week, high 1186. So, but PPMs are just not, this is going to really get sandwiched in here in a sideways trading band for at least, I'm going to go for at least 4 to 6 weeks before you'll see anything going on here. And I guess maybe what the new Xbox and PlayStation is coming out, like this week, tomorrow, something like that. Yeah, so let's go back. I'm just kind of flopping around here and I'm going to keep an eye. We're trying to set up another low on the S&P here. Yeah, somebody's talking about, Bob, any progress 3-month trial? Never going to happen. But we do have a 2-week trial on our portfolio expert on a soft launch. Yeah, let's do this, folks. Let's take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. I'll let you guys watch the futures here. I'll give you some music to listen to. About 3-minute break, and then we'll be back and come into the close. How's that sound?
When you've got nothing, there ain't nothing you can do about it. There ain't nothing you can do, the baby might change it. There ain't nothing you can do to hold on, I'll break it. You've got nothing, and everybody wanna take it from you. And every little bit of something is nothing. There ain't nothing you can do to hold on, so hold on and take it. You hold on. You hold on, you'll make it. You hold on. You hold on, you'll make it. You hold on. You hold on, you'll make it. You hold on.
Thanks, I did mute the mic. Thought I had turned it on. So now you're good. Yeah, so what I was saying, we did manage to print down to 38, down to 34.38. And so we're continuing to see this thing slip as we get closer into the close. We'll see how we end up. We got about 40 minutes to go. Yeah, so you guys should be hearing me, right? Yeah, good, right. Yeah, a little bit of a lag, so I apologize for that. But yeah, the patterns are going to continue to drift. Let's take a quick look at the RXT trigger point on the S&P. Let's go to a daily futures. Yeah, this is getting interesting actually. 34.39. We are trading 39 last. So we have traded back from an 80 high, 40 handles off the highs, and we're now printing back at RXT. Interesting enough. And I will tell you that I did manage to around 73 ended up getting a little bit short up there. So we'll see how this all plays out. If we close back under the RXT number, I still don't think that will negate the downward slope that we're likely to see for the next day or so. I think we're just going to backfill here. You know, this thing just feels way too frothy. It feels like one of those one-day situations that you're really just getting this big blast. I mean, no one knows. I mean, I'm watching the chat here, and one guy's going Trump wins, the other guy, no one knows. Okay, so let's stop guessing. It's not a lock for anybody. I just saw a story of all people, CNBC, a badge came across just a little bit ago, and they were showing how both guys have a path to 270. So, you know, it's yeah, it's going to be interesting. And even when one or the other gets the path, the other guy's going to sue. This thing's not over. It's going to be Bush-Gore litigation on steroids. And I remember how ridiculous that was back in the day. Yeah. So anyway, that was back when we were launching WaveTech, actually the first way back when in 2000. So yeah. So let's, yeah, we're at 40. Maybe we'll get the RXT sell. We'll just see how things play out here. We're trying to find some support. I think the low so far has been 38. Yeah, 38 even has been the low in this little mini pattern that we've got here on 1 minute chart on this page. So definitely looks like we've got a good chance continuing to fade this market. Let's look at the cash real quick. I want to see what the cash trigger number is on that. Let's go to SPX. Now SPX, even if the futures don't get the RTX signal, anything over 34.27 or last trade 49 is going to be an RXT sell on the cash. So let's focus on the cash. So I would say there's probably a 60% probability that we're going to close above 427, 34.27, 37. We're going to close above that. We're going to get an RXT sell 1 to 2 days sideways to down. So, you know, don't get too excited about this just yet. Yeah, so we'll see how this thing it finishes up as we come into close. We've got 35 minutes to do. So let's do this. Let's go through like we usually do. Yeah, I think VPDX, yeah, I think you're right. That was the beginning of the 2000 decline, and I think I could show portfolios from way back when, and we were big time sellers in March and April of 2000, and we were managing, I think, with WaveTech then about $1 billion at that point in time. I actually had an offshore hedge fund that I was running with WaveTech technology as well. It's called the WaveTech Fund Ltd, and that was fun. We had a good. It was really good that first quarter of 2000, and then we actually were able to. And this is something interesting, and this goes to the story that we spent a lot of time talking about last night on the live stream, is that this rotation that's likely to happen. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to that today, but the Russell is just getting hammered. I mean, no one wants this thing today. So that trade we spent a lot of time talking about is probably the best time you can put it on. You got the NASDAQ up 4.3 and the Russell down, so there's just a lot of mixed signals as we look at this market. I just don't see the clear path to anywhere right now, but I do see us getting an RXT sell, and I will be talking about that on tonight's video. And so the balance of the week finally will be somewhat normal, in that I'll go back to doing my edited videos for the next two evenings. Take a look at the level 2 again. Yeah, back at 38, so just traded 38 again. Let me see what the low was here. Low 37.25, so we printed through it. We get a little bounce. A lot of times you'll see that, and this is, I guess, a lesson in that. How many times have you seen where you've got a previous low, market prints just through it, and it bounces and comes right back? Look, we're trading 42. We print 1 tick, 2 ticks under that 38 handle, and it just reverses there. It's so classic that you see that, especially if you're short-term or day trading. You look for those. You'll see a key point on the chart and think, oh, if it takes that out, it'll go down. That's usually the actual buy point. It'll take out that low, especially if it's taken quite a long time. In this case, it took probably about 20 minutes on a 1-minute graph to get there, and you usually get a pretty good bounce out of here. So 37, that low was 37.25. So we got 3 ticks under there and then a reversal. Why can't you hear me? You should be able to hear me. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, all right, guys, let's do this. Let's give me a couple stocks that we can look at, fill some time for about 15 minutes, and then we'll just focus in and we'll watch how this thing's going to trade into the close. Let me put this up while we're... Yeah, somebody just pointed out Bitcoin is going crazy. Last 5 minutes, they just hammered this thing. We went from 14,150 to 13,960. So we're seeing moving back toward the 200 period moving average on a 5-minute chart. This is the hourly graph, so we're really we just moved down to our STX number. 13,998 was STX for this hour. The low was 14,085. So we basically moved right down to between S3, STX. See if we can get a bounce here on this thing. Yeah, so we did Apple earlier, did not do Amazon. Yeah, I do believe that will be 23K on I don't know if it'll be by year end, but we're definitely going to see Bitcoin move up substantially higher. Just taking a look at a couple things. Now I have a last print 13,965. Yeah. Yeah. I don't see this as a big deal either. So this is the weekly projections that I was talking about on Bitcoin. We're going up at these levels up on top here. 18,423, 21,698, 23,721. If we print 18,423, I think the old highs were 19,400 or something like that. We're going to go through that. No one's going to be going for that. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a thesis, Doug, on why I think Bitcoin's going to go up. It just all the technical. The last buy signal on this thing was. Let me just bring that up. Last buy signal here was at 11,134 on the weekly. So this was the signal that came out. The objectives for this signal, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, is that there's 2 times we've had ranges projected. You'll see these dots above the chart. Let me go off screen so you can see it a little bit better. You see these dots up here. The previous time that we had a print where it was projecting these prices was for a 16,949 to 23,448. This time we have a 18,423, 23,721 projections, and they're coming off similar patterns, but this one is more valid. When we got this last one, we just couldn't get the momentum. We still have some elements that have to be played out before we can see this thing move substantially higher. But this is a multi-month situation. There's not enough data on this platform to go back monthly. I think they've only, let me just click it over just so we can see it. But there's not a lot here. This thing only goes back to 17 on this data. So, but this, if we look at the grid for on a monthly basis for this month, the month of November, R1 14,164. We've been 14,260. So R2 would be the next stop, 14,799. This is just for the month of November, and then 15,435 is the other number. So yeah, so as far as I really don't have a narrative. We got into a conversation last night on a live stream. I had some folks calling in on a Zoom meeting, and we had an opportunity to talk about stuff. I don't really have anything there. Let's go ahead and there's So once again, we're getting this on a daily basis. PayPal is going to get an RXT sell. A lot of these symbols are likely to get RXT sells, which tells us that today could be more or less a one-day wonder, and we're going to pull back in for the next couple days, and that would finish off the week. Just have to see how everything plays out, especially on the weekly stuff. Let's take a look at the weekly ranges here. This is PayPal. This is interesting. I looked at this last week. There's long-term objectives for PayPal, 302, 351. I don't know if these will be hit. The PPMs are suggesting that we're in a consolidation range. They're actually negative. So there's at least another 3 to 4 weeks of consolidation here. And that range is going to put us somewhere between 202 and 182, maybe 177 on the downside. This thing will be locked in there for some time. Bill, we're still working with TradeStation to get our charts available in TradeStation. It's not available yet. Yeah, let's take a look at let's go to daily. NASDAQ definitely going to get an RXT sell. It looks like. What time we're getting to be? About 7 more minutes. We'll look at one more stock and then we'll go and focus in on the close here. We're trading 39, so we're trading right at on the SPX. We're trading right at the extreme levels here. So we'll see how this thing plays out here in the next 20 minutes. The same thing, I just brought up Amazon daily. We're seeing a breakout over the STX number. We're right on the 40-day moving average here, which is at, I'm sorry, that's 21-day moving average at 32.24, high 34.43. We're trading 32, so we're just trading right at that number. RXT 31.72. So any close over 31.72 will tell you that we're likely to go a little bit lower there. Uber is skyrocketing. I think this has a lot to do with the lawsuit that they had, right? It looks like Uber and Lyft are going to win this lawsuit. Probably with a little bit of positive news around action around the markets. That'll be it. That'll be it. Yeah, I think SQ should have been done earlier today. I see somebody talking about that. It hasn't moved a lot. Yeah, this thing is still got a ways to go, but it's potentially setting up a bottoming pattern here. This is a 60-minute SQ chart. Let's go to a lower time. Yeah. Yeah, not much here to look at. Yeah, we're still printing 38s. Go back over to the S&P for a minute. Actually going to cover some of the shorts from earlier right now. Okay. Yeah, just waffling here, trading around 38. Bear with me 1 second, folks. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, Tony, I just actually, sorry about the delay there for a minute. I was just actually exiting some of my SPSXs that I put up about 40 handles higher. So trying to, as we come into the close here, 15 minutes ago, we're trading 35. So this is a new low. So I want to hold a residual overnight. Yeah, last sale, I like that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we just traded up to 40. So this thing, it's going to be interesting as we come in last 15 minutes. we're already seeing some activity. We traded down on this spike low right here to 34.25. All of a sudden we're back at 40.50 just at a snap right there. So that yeah, so definitely we're going to end up, if we go back over for a minute here, go over to the cash SPX. We're going to go back to a daily chart. Anything above 427, 34.27, 37 will be an RXT sell for today. We should move back at least toward the what's R1 today to S1, so 33.82, maybe 33.55. That's a pretty big move actually, but we should come back into this grid. We just blew through this thing so big today, it's crazy. Yeah, Tony, I think that's 16, 17 is where I was selling there. Okay, that'll work. Yeah, I'm sure that's what Ram. I'm sure that's what was popping Lyft and Uber was that Prop 22. Yes, Mike D, they will adjust. That's why I'm saying that the grid will turn up, but it still will have, it should be, yeah, I'm guessing at the numbers right now, for sure. Okay, we got 10 minutes to go, folks. And I agree, Gino, this market makes no sense right now because no one knows what's going on, right? All right, let's, we'll do CRM and then we'll focus in on the close. Yeah, CRM, all these stocks, that's what I was talking about. They're all going to get an STX sell on this symbol. Let me just bring this in. I'm saying STX, but RTX sell. 245.89, last trade 250.52. So anything over 245. And these will adjust and they will angle up tomorrow. That's why I'm looking at maybe what is S1 today. S2 should be the bottom end of the range. So it's not going to be a lot there, but potentially going back to like 235, 237 on the grid tomorrow. We'll see how this thing sets up here shortly. So we got 10 minutes to go. And those of you hanging around my WaveTech training, and an hour into the training we had the bell go off. The bell is actually going to go off at the right time. Yeah, Jess Yates, I'm not sure that's true. We'll see. You could be right. I can tell you they cared in 2000. So yeah, let's go back. Let's focus in on level 2. So here we are trading STX on the daily is 39. You know, I just closed that out. Let me go back and see what that is real quick. STX today is 34.27. We're trading 34.47. So looks like we're going to definitely get that trigger. On the E-minis, it's a different number. S is 34.39. So we're trading, that's where I was getting that STX number here. This is right at the number right there. So we're trading just above it at 40 right now. 39.25 is STX on the futures. But I would go with the cash trigger anyway. Yeah, I agree. Blessings to you. More or less, yeah, this volatility is pretty crazy for sure. Yeah, so they're bidding this thing up 44 now, 39. What did I say the low was right here? 34, 37. 36.50. So that they're getting a little buying in the close. I kind of expected that come into the final run here. Yeah, just kind of stable here, just kind of watching how this thing's going to close. So, so far the high end of this print range has been 34.44. Starting to see a little selling back to 39 here. It's going to be an interesting close. We got 5 minutes to go. And as you know, I'd like to watch the last 2 minutes and then the 2 minutes after the close to see if there's any kind of short covering, liquidation, something we can clue in on. We're trading 38.37, so we're getting a little bit of selling, but we still have about 4.5 minutes to go. Yeah, I did do that. I did cover. I actually left a small residual on. Yeah, look at this. Now we're selling pretty good. 33. So let's see, who is this? Mike City. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so we're selling off in the close. It would have to close on the cash above below what I said was 29. We have to go back there 1 second. Yeah, so we're back below STX on the futures. SPX, that number is 34.2737. So we're currently trading right now at 34.42. So we're going to get STX on the cash for sure. The futures, we'll see. We don't need the confirmation there, but we are trading back below. We're 34.50, going back to level 2. I think 33 was the low print. Let's double check that. Wow, 31.75 was the low print in this pattern. We're in the final 2 minutes right now, so we definitely want to see if there's any liquidation. What's going to go on? Like I said, 31.75 is the low print. We take that out. Maybe we can get some further liquidation coming into the close. Up 218 after being up, what, 3.5? So this, yeah, it looks like RTX on the CRM as well. $31.75 low print. We're trading 33.25 right now. Yeah, I think I've done so many live streams. I've burned a bunch of people out. We only have about 700 on the stream today. Yeah, let's bring up SPY. Let's take a look at that. I'm sure it's there as well. Well, it's pretty close, isn't it? Selling off. The RTX number on SPY is 42.76. Trading 43.45. So it looks like they're going to get it. 33 here. Here's 33. I'm going to go back to level 2. There's the bell. That's the party. So 31.75. Now we'll look for the last 2 minutes. We'll do a couple stocks, see what's on everybody's mind. Yeah, I see some chat going on here. If Trump loses, he'll start a media company and put them all out of business. That would be funny. But what's even funnier, what would these guys talk about if he loses? Remember the Obama day, the love fest with the media? Okay, did we get RTX on SPY? Let's take a look at it. Yeah, we're just kind of stable here right now. We'll keep an eye on this thing. SPY. Yeah, it looks like we managed to get it. 42.76 was the magic number. 43.35. All right. Yeah, I think, Matt, I think that's is going to be what I'll cover tonight in tonight's video. I want to see the aftermarket market trade, have a chance to go through some in-depth analysis and get everything organized. I don't really think I can give you that synopsis right now. I think most of you know I like to step away from the markets. Usually after the live streams, I head for In-N-Out and go get a burger, but I think today I'm not going to. Yeah, so it looks like, it looks like we got a lot of RXT sells out there today, and it will be interesting to see how we trade tomorrow. We're going to have another 24 hours almost between now and tomorrow for the news cycle and for more confusion, what have you. So we'll just have to see how all this plays out for sure. Yeah, we're just absolutely sideways here with no big movements in a couple minutes after the close on the cash. So we're pretty stable. You know, I think the machines and algos were running things. That's why they blew them up well beyond the normal ranges that we saw today. That's why we're seeing so many STX sells across the board. That's definitely it. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the reading some of the chat here. Yeah, actually, if usually when I go, I get a triple protein style. Why mess around? Yeah, Victor, I think that's the funny thing. Trump or Biden, I think it's bridges or walls. You know, in Arizona, we don't really need a bridge over the border. Okay. Yeah, Paul, we don't have the graphic on the market grid as of yet. That's probably going to be ultimately the trade station. That thing was just giving me all kinds of fits. I'm actually getting a hold of the programmer that's working on that. I had errors in the grid last night. I'm going to have to work on. So anyway, folks, we're going to call it quits, and thanks for showing up today. It was a good session. I enjoyed it. So we'll be off to regular videos tonight, see what I can figure out. So thanks again, everyone, for showing up. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Manna.
Whatever you're thinking, get it out of your head. You've drowned in your sinking, and I heard what you said. I feel I'm on fire, I feel kinda sad. I lost the desire, you lost what you had. But don't make it easy to get beat back to the ground. Don't try to please me, 'cause I may not stick around. I know you might need me, but it's you I hope you found. Don't make it easy, make me proud. Make me proud. I know it's confusing, another voice in your head. You're not used to losing, and you gave all you had. You feel you're